everyone. I can't see you, so give me hearts. I'm really excited about today's class. I'm so thankful for any of you that have showed up and for all of you that participated in this past week. It's just such a fun community. I really love you guys. I wanted to share with you about a friend of mine. Her name is Lumini Merced. And she was in my class at the Todd Mercantile. She was a dancer in New York City for 10 years. So at the end of every year, we would have a final fling in November where we would all get together and have a potluck with wild foods. And everyone would bring a plant offering. Sometimes it was a poem. Pastor Laura went, did a song. We all sang For the Beauty of the Earth. And Aurora did something with Shakespeare, and so did Amy. And oh my gosh, it was so amazing. It was amazing. I actually have a blog on that. So I'll post that below if you all want to kind of peek into what that was like. And we do an organoleptics test where we use our 5 senses to determine what plants are and what we taste and what we smell and what we feel and what we hear even. And so nature has a way of utilizing all 5 of our senses, or actually more senses than just 5, but it just gets you completely involved. And so I love that. Let me just tell you a little bit about Lumini. So she did a dance because she's a dancer. And she also wrote the words to the dance. And so she performed for us. But she was talking about the seasons and she was demonstrating them with her body. And so this is only one part of it, but this is the winter pause. And so this is the winter section. So let me read this to you because this will just blow your mind. And we all sat there with our mouth on the floor. It was crazy. She's incredible. All right. It will soon be winter. The branches are bare, stark silhouettes against the sky. The seeds have dispersed and landed in their winter resting places where they will survive the harsh cold. The life force has descended down into the roots, which hold tenaciously to frozen rock and soil. O trees, O plants, teach me to welcome deep slumber and stillness, to slow down enough to really rest and rejuvenate. Teach me to conserve my energy and resources, to honor the importance of hibernation. Teach me to get down, to go deep, to focus on what is essential, what lies at the core of me. O trees, O plants, teach me to be at ease with death, the unknown, the mysteries which guide the cycles of life. Teach me to be at peace with apparent nothingness and emptiness, even when I feel lost and I feel faint. Teach me to remember the hidden and dormant seeds in me, the potentials in me which remain unborn. That is what I learned from winter. Whew. Anyway, so I can't wait for you to hear the whole thing. She does the same thing for what spring teaches her, what summer and what fall teaches. But there's just so much importance with the rhythms of life. And so I wanted to talk about that before we jump into our lesson for today. And our verse, of course, from last week is so cool. It's in Genesis 8:22. And actually, there's several verses. The one in Ecclesiastes talks about God makes everything beautiful in its time. And there's a time and a season for every activity under heaven. But the verse that I want you all to memorize is Genesis 8:22, which says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So that's the rhythm that the God who is outside of time, put into place for us. And it is so wise to get into sync. It's a God thing to get into sync with nature and with the rhythms of life. So there's the rhythms of each year, and it all takes intentionality. So I don't know if you guys have traditions, yearly traditions, I don't know, at Christmas, at Easter, Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever, just traditions that your family always do every year. And those are kind of precious memories. I look back to my childhood and I remember precious traditions that my parents were intentional about to make sure that we didn't miss out on. But it's not just yearly, it's the seasons. And each season has so many gifts that we need to embrace for that season. And in the winter, there is this pause and this stillness and this seeming death that Lumini wrote so beautifully about. But it's actually honestly feeling more like it's the energy. It's all about energy is just kind of rushing towards spring. So we'll talk about that in a minute, because it all has to do with preparing for the next season, but living well in the season that you're in. So when you prepare for, let's go back to another rhythm. So we talked about yearly and seasonally and monthly. There's seasons. And I remember going to the library with my boys all the time. And it would be funny because it'd make you feel like you lost a month, because they would tell you your books are due on March 16th. And it would make you feel like, what happened to February? And that happens a lot. But there's also weekly rhythms. And so I have to admit, I've not really ever done weekly rhythms. And we just started this week because of I've been so motivated by what I've been studying to teach you guys that I just felt convicted, and Jason did too. So Sunday, we decided we would make it a day of rest. God was created for 6 days, and he saw every day was good. And I want every day to be good. I want every day to be good for you guys. But then on the 7th day, he rested and just enjoyed what he had made. So we started this week, actually. So I'm not going to be on the computer on Sundays. I'm not going to be trying to write on Sundays. I'll be reading and out in nature, just enjoying being still and being restful on Sundays. It doesn't have to be Sunday. It could be any day, but that's the day we're choosing to just honor God and to just replenish our bodies. So then there's daily rhythms. And so the daily rhythms are easy to forget about because we get so busy. But if you prepare the night before for your daily rhythm, then you can embrace the day and you can look forward to the day. So this morning, I wasn't ready for class at all, but my daily rhythm is I go out on my hike habit and out to my sit spots, and I spend time alone with God first before I do anything. And I watch the sunrise, not always, not every morning, but I always go out there before I start any type of work to be alone. And I'm tempted not to be, because it's like, well, I'm not really ready for class. But it doesn't matter, because as you take charge of your life and just say no to the busyness and to the tyranny of the urgent and spend time doing what you know matters. I can't wait to share with you our verse for today. But okay, so those are just some thoughts on rhythms, and it takes some serious thinking. And if you don't do that, it's easy just to get caught up in the flow of what other people are doing and of just what's on television or the tyranny of the urgent. So I hope that this study on seasons has helped and encouraged you. And I'd like to know in the comments below what kind of rhythms you have in your daily practices, weekly practices, monthly practices, whatever you want to share. Go for it. All right. So this week I went out to Peaceful Acres because that's where my parents used to live. And they lived up on the side of the mountain, and down at the pasture, my father had a golf cart, and he had back surgery and wasn't able to walk. So he would get in his golf cart and run the collie named Chippy around the perimeter of the field at Peaceful Acres in the pasture. And so I was over there all the time, especially after Daddy died, and I took care of my mom after she was bedridden. So I'd be over there a lot, like every day or night even. And so I'd go down to the pasture and I'd walk the perimeter just like Dad would in his golf cart. And I would get to know the trees. And so I'm going to show you a video now of what that's like. And the reason why I want you to watch this, and I know that your assignment was to collect branches, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So comment below if you did that. I really am interested. But also, if you start now, when it's just the leaf buds, the terminal buds, or the on the tree buds, if you start now, then you get to watch the magic unfold. You get to watch the leaf buds get more and more pregnant and larger until they finally unfold and unfurl. And it's pretty magical. So I don't really care if you know what your trees are that you've got on your land. I just want you to have 2 of each branch, cut them now before the leaves come out, And we'll talk about a daily habit that you're going to want to incorporate called the hiking habit after this video. So enjoy, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. So we've come down to just look and see what nature has to offer on this day, February the 8th. And this is Peaceful Acres Pasture. This is where my parents lived for so long. You ready? Ready? Go get him, Max! Woo! Look at him go! Good boy! Good boy. Now we get to work. So I brought with me seeds to spread, and my clippers, of course. Look at those birch trees. I intend to tap those this year. The bee balm patches around on the other side, right between those two streams. And that's all going to be ready come July. Mom and Dad's house was up that hill there. And this is the pasture that Daddy used to run his golf cart all the way around the perimeter with his collie Chippy. Lots of good memories here. Look at the shadows of those trees, so amazing. So we're gonna just look at some leaf casings and spread a few seeds. What do I have to spread? I have lamb's quarter. This is not the best place for lamb's quarter because it really likes cultivated soil, but milkweed, absolutely. And if you can see that, asclepias. I really want butterflies to come, and I want the food as well. Yucca seeds. Never tried to grow yucca from a seed, but mullein does well. And I've got some evening primrose and some nettle. So we'll see what we do. You can tell that there's some treats in there for him, and he's pretty excited. Nope, not now. You'll have to wait. Okay, let's see what there is to see. First, we're just going to look at some leaf casings. This here, these beautiful birches, I'm going to definitely tap them for their sap. But you can see they're little budding leaf casings. They're pretty tight right now. You can see some of their little conifers or little cones that they've got. Oh, there's their hot dogs. See that? Oh, they're so cute. I don't know if they're edible. They're certainly not very palatable. But in the case of extreme hunger, you never know what's going to come all of a sudden the vogue. All right, so I'm going to take 2 of these branches because I want to use them for identification purposes. You can see all the way up. The deer nibble on these. This is a highly nutritious tree. It has a lot of gifts to it. Someday I'll give a class on it, but for now, I just wanted to talk about the little buds, the leaf buds. Ready? 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 Come on! See those beautiful tulip shapes? This is a tulip poplar seed pod. Probably already dropped all of its seeds. Oh my goodness, I love these trees. They get to be super tall. I think one of my best friends was a tulip poplar. It was clear cut in October of 2017, and I still think about it and miss it. Look at all those tulips up in the tree. They're beautiful yellow and orange flowers. That make very tasty nectar in the spring too. So I think that the leaf casings look like duck bills. So I'm going to try to get a couple of those. Those are too high up for me to reach, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Max, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, he rolled in something and he's going to be a mess. Ugh, he probably stink. 2 of each branch type in my basket, so I can take it home with me and use it for identification games with my apprentices. This is the leaf casing of a of a red oak. In focus there. I think they kind of look like a fleur-de-lis. Look at that beautiful Magnolia acuminata. See this leaf casing? Came from those twin trees right there. This one has extremely precious meaning to me. Very soft, beautiful sage green. These turn into huge, huge leaves. Well, the flowers are quite showy. And then the seed pods are such a bright red that cardinals will even come to mate with them, thinking that it's a bird. They're huge and they're red. But when you pick them and put them on your counter, they turn black, and the seeds inside are a gorgeous orange. So someday I'll tell you my story about that. This particular tree is really precious to me. I'm going to go ahead and clip off a couple of these twigs, and let's go on to the next tree. One of the ways to identify a tree is to look at the debris below it. And there's lots of acorns all over the place here. So also looking at the leaf casings, I can tell this is a red oak. Look at that stand of red oaks. Aren't they gorgeous? Just so majestic. Okay, Mom will get you your treat, bud. Look at them flying away. Oh my gosh. I love this plant. 6 edible vegetables from 1 wild plant. Free for the knowing and the picking. I'm always trying to plant them because I want the monarchs to have a place to lay their eggs for the larvae to eat. They only eat the milkweed pods, or the milkweed stalks and leaves. All right, so I'm going to save this because you never know what I want to use it for. In a wreath, or for angel wings, or who knows. Anyway, that was beautiful. Look, they're all over the place. So hopefully they'll make a home here. And this could be a new spot to collect milkweed. All right, Max, come to Mom. Come here. All right, sit. Sit. Where have you been digging? Show Mom. Max has found a real mess over here. What did you find, buddy? What is it? There must be some critter in there. Oh, he's going to be such a mess in the truck. All right, well, I'm going to go back and have my quiet time, get home and get prepared for Teaching Tuesdays tomorrow. was just setting up, trying to show everybody what it is I keep in my backpack. So I always have Linda Runyon's book, The Essential Wild Food Survival Guide, and if you don't have that, I really recommend you buy it. She is such a real deal. She was such a mentor to me. She lived off the land for 13 years without any plumbing or electricity. She's pretty special. And this book, she's got great stories, great illustrations. She has many books, but this one is a must. She also taught the Navy SEALs how to eat off the land and made a card deck of that, which I don't have with me today. These are the oils I'm using currently every day. I have an aromatherapist who is trained to figure out what oils are best for individuals, and so these are the things that she determined I needed, so I use these each day. Then I have my journal, and I always bring seeds to spread, and my jeweler's loop so I can see things up close, and my verse pack. And I love this particular book. This is called Streams in the Desert, and it's my favorite devotional for, besides reading the scripture. So I just can't tell you how much I've appreciated that. Anyway, so here Max and I are, and we're just going to go ahead and read Streams in the Desert. I like to read to him. He enjoys hearing my voice, and gosh, Max, you're a disaster. I'm going to go home and give him a bath, but couldn't ask for a more beautiful day. Sometimes you can, well, all of the time, if you wanted to know what trees are around, you can look at the ground, see the kind of debris you find. So I can see lots of buckeye husks, so I know that buckeye is amongst these trees, and indeed there. And what else can I find? Okay, there's a beech nut. See the beech nut, Max? And there's a beech tree. Well, what is it? Oh, and look at that smooth bark. Oh, I love these trees. So beautiful. Let's see what there is along here. More beech. They tend to grow kind of close together, like a colony. Not sure how that thins out, but oh my word, something happened to this tree. I don't know what this is. Anybody have a clue? I don't know. Oh, well, let's look at some of the, oh my goodness, this is witch hazel. How cool is that? This is the neatest tree. They actually shoot their seeds out in November. They have beautiful yellow flowers in November, which is kind of interesting. But you can actually hear them as like little rifle shots coming out of their seed pods. So this is witch hazel. Well, that's good to know. Look how much there is. Okay, well, we're going to head home now and clean him up. See you tomorrow for Teaching Tuesday. Let's talk about what we did. So I went to that pasture and I cut down all of these twigs. And what I did is I took masking tape and I just put the name of, this is a beech with their little cigar-like leaf casings. And I put that on there on one side, and then I put Fagus on the other because that's the botanical name. So I did that for each of the ones in there. I'm not going to be teaching about the trees. I just want you to observe the trees. So let me go back to our rhythm. So I want to get a rhythm going for my class each week. And one of the rhythms every week is I want to have something to drink. And if you were at my class, you would be drinking with me. So this one is for you guys. And this has to do with a wildly preserved harvest. This one's for you. And this one's for me. Tracy Terry gave me this mug, and I just love it. All right, so what this is dandelion root coffee. And dandelion is one of their must-haves. It is so high in nutrition and so many ways to eat it. So good for you and delicious. So what I did in my wildly prepared harvest is I dug up roots in the spring, and I also dig them up in the fall, and I dry them. So this is a whole bunch of, this is what I've got left. This is dried roots, and you roast them. Oh, they smell so good. I swear, I don't even like coffee anymore. I just love drinking this. It's so good for your liver. Okay, kind of a random thought, but it's true. I mean, our livers need help. So then you take the roasted roots that you cut them up, and then you roast them, and then you powder them in a coffee grinder. And so this one is just the dandelion root. Okay. However, if you are lazy and you don't want to do that, you can purchase Dandy Blend at Vitacost or Amazon, and that has burdock root and chicory root, dandelion root, and some rye seed, and so it has a really good flavor. This here is dandelion. Okay, so to my dandelion root coffee, I then add to that all kinds of craziness. I add butter, grass-fed butter. I add a tiny bit of vanilla, and Young Living just came out with a vanilla essential oil. So I would probably use that because it would probably be cheaper than vanilla extract, and just do a drop of that when that comes. That should come today or tomorrow. I ordered it this month. I also use monk fruit as a sweetener, just a couple of drops. I put turmeric in, a little bit of cinnamon, and then I add oat milk, or you can add coconut milk, like from the can, if you really want it creamy. But this is so filling, and it's so good for every single body system, just about. So if you're going to drink coffee and you don't want dandy root coffee, if you add this to your coffee, this will absolutely help to nourish your body and help you feel fuller longer. It's because of the good fats that we put in there. So I'm going to take a sip. Oh, so good. So good. Okay. So another thing that I like to do as a rhythm that I didn't do today because my cream cheese was rotten, but you take some preserved harvest. And so I made some beauty berry jelly this winter from my beauty berries, and they're so delicious and so unusual. And so out of this, I've made syrups, and I use that to make my sodas. Here's my sodas that I've been making. This is a pine soda. It's a kefir water, actually. And this one, what did I do with that? I don't remember. Anyway, okay, so I'm making kefir water again. Thank you, Pamela, for sharing your grains with me. So you take the beauty berry and you mix it up with some cream cheese and whip it till it's really smooth and lovely. And then you can use it as a dip for apples or whatever. So, but I couldn't do it because my cream cheese had gone moldy, and that's not a good thing. All right, so let's talk about, let's look at our board. So we talked about rhythms, intentionality of years and seasons and months and weeks and days. And even this class, I want to have a rhythm and traditions. So one of the traditions that I slacked off last week, but I'm going to do every single week, is provide for you a crossword puzzle. Since we're focused on trees this week, this one is on seeing trees in winter. I've got all kinds of handouts that'll be coming in the future that you're not going to want to miss out on. I would recommend starting a Wild Blessings notebook, and you can keep your paperwork in there. Okay. Other thing that we do every week is we learn a new scripture. So the one for trees is unusual, and let's see, I'll just write it down. It's Hosea 2:14, and it says, he led her into the wilderness, and there he spoke to her soul. And so let me write that down. He led her into the wilderness. It's Hosea 2:14. And so I got this really cool idea in the middle of the night to write these verses on a piece of cardstock, and then every single week put all over that cardstock whatever's edible this week. So, oh my gosh, I could put chickweed on there, and I can do allium, and I can do yellow dock, and I can do what else is out there? mustard and whatever I find is going to go on the verse for the week. And so I'm going to show you next week how to do that. I'll have the ones we've made up to this point for pine and so forth, all ready to go. So you should do that as well. And I'll have it laid out in a really cool font. And then you can print it out on your computer and then put it on cardstock so that you can do the same if you want. And that could go into your notebook and be a great way to review. So he led her into the wilderness, and there he spoke to her heart is such a cool scripture. First of all, God placed us in a garden in paradise. And so he made everything pleasing to the eye, and all the mysteries and pleasures and treasures of creation and beauty was there for man and woman to enjoy. And so we're not in the garden anymore, but there's so much of his creation that reveals his character and his beauty. And so when he calls us away from our iPhones and from our iPads and from the computers and from the television and from just the busyness of life, he wants us to be in his handiwork, in his creation. And so if you lived in the city, you could find a tree just to sit next to, or even just to look up at the clouds. But if you live in the country, enjoy it. If you're in the suburbs, I'm sure you can create a little sit spot in your backyard. It doesn't matter. You'll find beauty wherever you are and wherever you look. And don't forget to use your jeweler's loop so that you can look deeply into a flower or into a pine cone or into a seed casing. Okay, so I'm going to call a new rhythm that I do every day. I'm going to call it a hiking habit. So there's two things that I want you to implement this week. So I want you to start a hiking habit. And what that is just picking a place to walk. And it doesn't have to be on your own land. It could be at a park. And but I just want you to walk the same path every day, or as many days a week as you can do, because you'll be able to observe the same trees that you picked for this class. You'll be able to observe them transform and evolve and morph as the seasons roll by. And it'll just blow your mind. And it's like befriending a person. Like when you meet someone for the first time, you don't really know all that they have, all that they offer. When you meet my husband, you have no idea that he's this amazing artist. But the more you get to spend time with people or with plants, the more wonders you discover about them, or even irritating things you discover about them. But you will never discover unless you spend the time. And that takes intentionality. I have found that when I take time to go to my sit spot, which takes a hiking trail to get to it, I've got 15 sit spots. But when I take the time to go there and observe, God always blesses me. I remember when I would teach this class at the Mercantile, which was a lot more work actually than this, because I'd have to drag everything to the Mercantile. But sometimes I wouldn't know what I was going to teach on until that morning. And I would be spending time with my habit out at my sit spot with God. And as I'm walking, he would point out to me, hey, did you notice that the bloodroot just popped up? Why don't you talk about that? Or he would give me a scripture, or he would give me something that I read in my Streams in the Desert, or something that I would be able to be filled with so I could share with you all. And those were my favorite times, because we are meant to live this life in connection. So connecting with the earth and with the one who created the earth. And otherwise we're just kind of existing. So we're never that busy. And I was a mom of 4 boys. And you know what? I was just way too caught up in making sure that they had a good education. But frankly, with better education than watching and learning the mysteries that nature has to teach us, and reconnecting physically, emotionally, and spiritually to the earth and to the one who created the earth. So I hope that challenges you to onto your already busy schedule, but honestly, this will slow you down, and this will help you find out what really matters. To add a sit spot time and to add a hiking habit. So hopefully your hiking habit will include some trees. I know that my beloved friends only have Andrea and her children. They only have one tree, a little tiny tree in their yard. They live in, is it North Dakota? Anyway, somewhere out there, and it's freezing temps right now. But if you guys are there right now, Tristan, I love you. Claire, I love you. Elias and Molly, I love you. I love it when kids join Wild Blessings, because this, you guys are just so special, and this will keep you in nature and keep you healthy emotionally by being in nature. Also, I'm so excited because Bethany wrote a poem, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but I was going to read it while you guys were watching the video, but since you can't watch it, I'll have to find it and read it to you now on phone. So let's talk about our trees. So these are the ones that I got from Peaceful Acres, and I also
we're going to try the video again.
We're going to try the video again?
When you're ready at the end, we're going to try it again, see if we can get it to play better this time.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, it really doesn't matter if you know what your trees are. It just matters that you have 2 branches of each, and that you, if you can, try to get a branch that has some of its fruit and cones and catkins or gifts on it as well from last season. If you can do that, that would be amazing. This is a birch, a betula. And birch, I'm tapping my birch in the backyard, my wintergreen birches. And so those are black birches, and they are really, really, really tasty and super high in nutrition. There's so much we could say about the trees. So this week, you're going to be writing a poem about trees. And whoever wins the tree or the poem this week is going to get Eat the Trees by Linda Runyon. So I wanted to tell you about her and about this book. So she's one of my most precious mentors, and she's now with the Lord, but she lived off the land in the Adirondack Mountains for 13 years. And then after that, she lived off the land in Arizona. But when she was in the Adirondack Mountains, the weather was, pretty brutal. There'd be black flies in the summer, and it would get down to below 0 in the winter. And they lived without electricity or without plumbing, and they lived completely off of the wild edible plants that they had growing around them in the wilderness. She canned 420 jars of milkweed and evening primrose and all of these amazing edibles as we surf Nature's Wave together. But she canned 420 cans of wild food and put them in her refrigerator, which was 9-foot hole in the ground. So she didn't have a refrigerator like I do. She literally, her husband helped her. They dug this 9-foot hole, and they kept their 420 mason jars of edible food, wild edible plants in there that she had canned over a campfire, no less. Okay, so the weather went down to 30 degrees below 0, and she went in the morning down in the ladder into her refrigerator, and there was broken glass, and most of the cans, pretty much all of them, except for a very few, had shattered in the freezing weather. And so she just was overwhelmed because that was how she was going to feed her family. But she's down in this pit, and she looks up, and there she sees the tracery of the leaf of the branches. There's no leaves, it's winter, up above her. And she remembered how the Algonquins and the Iroquois lived off of the trees. They were called tree people. And so she realized that God had provided her needs in the form of trees. And so she started eating the trees. And so I'm sure it was a little bit difficult to get used to because it's not all that palatable if you don't have all the great seasonings and if you don't really know what you're doing. But Linda learned by doing. And then, bless her heart, she wrote about it. And so she has written in this book. This is an amazing book, and one of you is going to get it. So, I hope you all write poems, but one of you will get this. Let's see. And she illustrates it too herself, which is pretty cool. So she writes about pine and birch and balsam fir and maple and willow and beech. And then she gives tree activities and foraging rules for eating edible trees and a study guide. So it's pretty awesome. In fact, I didn't pull this out when I was teaching on pine. And I looked at this week and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I should have just read her book because she had so much to say about pine. Okay, So, Linda, I love you. I think she'd be pretty proud of me. I want to carry on her tradition. If you order any of her books, her game cards that she did for the Navy SEAL, which have 55 most common edible wild plants, those are amazing. Try to get them from ofthefield.com so you can support her business and her son who runs it, that would be amazing. Okay, so Linda's book, and she makes these trees come alive, and there's so many gifts. There's edible gifts, there's medicinal gifts, there's useful, extremely useful, practical, beautiful. Each tree, if you have an edible tree, has a lot to offer. I mean, it could feed a whole village, one tree. So you want to really get to know what you've got growing around you, because what you have is what you need. And then if you need to go somewhere else, find another shopping center, ask a neighbor or somebody that has lots of land that never uses it or that would be happy to let you on their land. And so I always take with me a jar of wild jelly or something, and I go up to someone's land that I see something that they've got that I'd like some of, like autumn olive berry or whatever. And I always introduce myself. And what you can do is you can say that you're a student of Wild Blessings and your teacher has instructed you to do whatever, and that you noticed that they have this invasive plant on their land, and would they mind if you foraged there for it? And I've only once had someone say no, and I've asked many people. So it's always a really fun way to meet new people and to even help them see what they've got on their land. So this morning I was out and about, so we're just going to take a few minutes and look at the ones that I pulled out this morning. And so let's see. Another thing I noticed about the wintertime, and I was thinking about this today, I was at my sit spot with Max, and I noticed nothing really looks very pretty. I mean, the mountains look beautiful and the clouds were lovely, but everything's kind of really bedraggled looking. But I started envisioning what I want to see this coming year. And so I'm literally going to the area that I mow with my weed whacker or my lawnmower, I'm going to literally cut some of that out and then edge it with rocks and put some, not necessarily just wild edibles, but some flower bulbs and things that I want to watch blooming as I watch the sunrise or as I sit there with my dog. All right, this one, ouch. This is a locust tree. It has these horrible thorns on the side. Man, those are hard. But cutting this, it's really funny because you always hear about hardwoods and softwoods and you think, well, what's that all about? But when you try to cut a pine branch, it just cuts like butter. And if you try to cut a locust branch, it's really hard. And that's why they use these trees for making fence posts and stuff, because they last a lot longer than a pine post would. So you can see in the winter, you can see the lacery of the branches. You can see the branching structure, whether it's alternate or opposite or whirling. You can see the little terminal buds on the tips. And you go, oh, okay, so that's what a locust tip looks like. So like a scientist or naturalist, my grandfather, whatever, they would know a tree by its bark, by the shape of the tree, by its crown, and by the way its branches are formed. And they would also know them, and this is the way I best know them, is by their leaf buds, the terminal buds. And I call them leaf casings, but they're called terminal buds. So that's on your crossword puzzle. So this is a locust. And this, my husband wants to chop all these things down. And I finally decided I'm going to let him, because I watched a video on YouTube, and I gave it to you in Wild Blessings. Guys, I'll put it in our comments below so it's all in one place. But it's this woman who takes tree branches from a lilac, because her husband cut back her lilac, and I'm like, no, don't cut my lilac. But anyway, before they bloom, you take them out, you cut them off, and then you just cut little tiny pieces. And she showed how she took a grapevine wreath and she attached them with sticking them into I'm not going to do it right now, but I am going to definitely do this, and made the most glorious wreath. It was amazing. And then she bought some cherry blossoms that she interspersed. And so I'm thinking, gosh, it took her like 15 minutes. And I bet you anything it would cost like $80 to buy that, like at a really nice gardening store. Okay, so that's something fun you can do. This was not lilac. This is actually Rosa rugosa. And this is pretty invasive as well. But can you imagine how pretty of a wreath would be with a bunch of this? So, and I have plenty for Jace to cut. This one here is, this is witch hazel. And this is the weirdest plant. I talk about it in my video. It turns its flowers in November, which is crazy. And its little seeds, when they go firing out of its seed pods, they sound like little gunshots. And so this is pretty amazing. But you've heard of witch hazel distillate and how good that is for toning your skin or for skin issues. That's made from this tree. And it's on my bucket list to figure out how to make a witch hazel distillate out of witch hazel. But so I have a bunch of this. This is forsythia. Something fun you can do with forsythia is you can cut them back now and then cut off all these lower ones and then stick it into a bucket with water and then put it next to your fireplace or next to your front door or whatever, and they'll still bloom. And so all of these gorgeous yellow blossoms will blossom out and be glorious indoors, or they make a great gift to give to people. It teaches you to wait because you know it's coming. I think that's one of the things I love about seasons is that it teaches you to wait. And in our modern society where everything's so instant and you can have total perfect temperature all year round, you never have to deal with heat or cold because you can always be at the same temp. I think that's doing us a huge disservice because it's like saying, I can push a button and get what I want. No, you need to wait. And waiting is good. And it teaches character and it teaches so much more than that. But that's the way the rhythms of life occur, is by waiting and knowing that it's coming. And as I watch these trees every day, it makes me think, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see that tree bloom. This one I love. Kids like this. This is a buckeye. I'm wearing a buckeye necklace. This is why they're called buckeye, because the nuts look like whatever buckeyes. But the seed casing or the terminal bud, look how big that is. It looks like an arrow. This is the absolute first. This is the first tree in my part of the woods that actually comes into bloom or that unfurls in the spring. And I have to show this. This is just crazy. Inside of this bud are up to 45 leaves. It's all worship to me. It just blows my mind. Okay, so they have 5 lobed fingers, and as they open, then comes 5 more and 5 more out of this. And this was the last leaf of the fall turns into the terminal or bud. So they're also the first ones in the fall to drop all their leaves, like boom, like overnight. Pretty cool. So I love this tree, even though it's not edible. You need to know your trees, even if they're not edible, they're all useful and they're all beautiful. How much more time do I have? I can't read that.
These are the folks who are on.
Oh my gosh, Jamie, good to see ya. Karen, I'm just Cindy, I love you. Oh my gosh. Oh, she's my herb mentor sister. I met her in San Diego and we would have so much fun together. I want to see your sit spots. Guys, post pictures. Frankie posted a picture of her at her beautiful rocks, and she even keeps a tent next to her rocks so she can sleep there at night on Saturday nights. I mean, like, is that not a cool? That's taken back the day, I'll tell you. Susie, you won. Your poem won. I got to find it to read it, though. I'm so excited. I can't wait to send you your gift, and I'll give you your options in a minute. Pamela, love you, honey. Hi, Andrea. Hi, kids. Hi, Nancy. I loved your poem this week. Brooke, I love you. When are you going to start writing poems again, hun? She's amazing, by the way. Amy, good to see you. Hi, kids. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, it means so much to me that you would join me. And this is a community. So one of the things I'm absolutely so blessed by is that so many of you are commenting in Wild Blessings with Holly Drake with our private Facebook group. You're commenting on each other's posts, and that means the world to me because you're developing relationships, not just with me, but with one another, because we're all kindred spirits. Or let's just face it, we wouldn't be here if we weren't interested in creation and creator's God. So I think it's just awesome to be able to do this. And you guys are motivating me, you're inspiring me. And hopefully I'll find time to write about it, but I'm enjoying preparing for class anyway. But those trees are so meaningful to me, and knowing what they look like and what they're going to look like through looking forward to that. And the other thing about it is once you can identify that this is a Magnolia acuminata, then every time you see one anywhere else in the world, you go, oh my gosh, it's almost like meeting an old friend. Or here's another magnolia, but it's not in the same, it's in the same family, but it's a completely different species. This is a Magnolia grandifolia, and it looks like, oh my gosh, like witches. Those terminal buds are pretty creepy looking, but it's in the same family. So, so is tulip poplar, by the way. So you can see that the nuances and really see well. And I remember when I was a kid, doing schoolwork or workbooks or something, or my children's, well, I homeschooled, so we didn't do that. But a lot of people use workbooks and what's different in this picture? We're like, whatever, just spend time in nature and observe the differences and the nuances and the transformations and the differences between the different species. Because there's, oh, I don't know, several hundred types of oaks. So I only know a few of them, but I mean, how exciting to be able to know the difference between a white oak and a chestnut oak and a red oak and pin oak and live oak and so forth, but they're all in the same family. So those all come from taking time and observing. And if you don't take time, you'll pay for it sometime. You know, with our body needs vitamin C, vitamin D, and it needs to be in fresh air. And there's so many reasons why that's important. Okay, so I hope that motivates you. So your homework is a hiking habit and a sit spot. And try to look at your sit spot and think, how can I transform this even a little bit, you know, planting a tulip bulb or something to make it more magical and more something that I'm invested in, that I've stewarded. And I think probably one of my favorite gardeners is Pamela Torres, because she does that with her gardens. And it's such a magical experience going to her gardens and seeing what she's done. It all started with barrenness in the winter and with envisioning and just thinking, well, I wonder if, and then just do it. And do it, and you can do it in your dreams now, but you can start preparing, because it's all about energy, and the energy is starting to move. I don't know if you can feel it, but I sure can. And it's like, oh my goodness, things are popping up and ready for me to learn to say hi to and to enjoy and teach you about and eat and so forth. So much has been given to bless us. All right. The other third thing. So you've got the hiking habit, you have the sit spot, and the third thing is a poem. And I really want to challenge you just to take your timer and set it for 10 minutes. And then you just write. And first you can prime yourself by writing down everything that, like say you're writing about the witch hazel or something, you write down the things that I taught you about it, about how it sends out its seeds. You can look up some YouTube videos on watching that. That's pretty fascinating. You can look at it with your jeweler's loupe. And as you're looking at it, you think, what does that look like? Oh my gosh, it looks like a bouquet of flowers. This looks kind of, you can barely see it, but you look it up close and it's just so cool. It's almost like a trumpet, like a horn looking into it, but with a flower around the outside. So write down everything. What does it look like? What does it remind you of? What, you know, because or function and form is what can give you the bones of a poem. So you write these things down and then you set the timer for 10 minutes and then you just start writing and you'll be amazed at what you come up with. And then share it with us in Wild Blessings. And then you get a chance to win the book, Eat the Trees by Linda Runyon. Okay, so I'm pretty excited. I got this morning from Pastor Laura and her daughter, Bethany, who's one of my wild kids. She wrote this poem and I'm going to put this on Wild Blessings. By the way, Laura, do it right on Wild Blessings so that everybody can see, not just Holly. All right, so this is called Season Smells by Bethany. And this is a true wild child. She and Lucas are incredible. So she put a picture of winter and then she wrote, I think winter smells like grayness and darkness, but it's not just sad and gray. It has life just waiting to grow. The soil has life for plants to grow. The reason that there are no plants is that the soil needs more life in it for life to grow. If you really think about it, winter brings life to the soil. Why I think this is because winter gives the soil nutrients from leftover debris that rotted from last year's crop. That's her winter thoughts. Spring, and then has a picture of spring. I think spring smells like new life and fresh air. I like spring because it's cool to see life starting to grow. It's also inspiring to see the cycles of life. I like to see how different types of life work together to grow. Here's an example. People plant corn, raccoons poop on the corn. The poop helps the corn grow. The corn gives the raccoon a lot of food. I love to be part of that cycle. Summer. I think summer smells like spring, but stronger. Summer is my favorite season because it's my birthday. My favorite thing about summer is its beautiful colors. In the late summer, the fields blossom with white or with purple, beautiful purple and yellow colors. Another thing I like about summer is sunshine. I love sunshine because it helps plants grow and it's good for the animal life. Summer has lots of nutrients for plants. And then fall. I think fall smells like colorfulness. Why I like fall is its beautiful colors. I think fall also smells like syrup. I love to admire the trees and to see what color leaves, the different types of trees. What I like about fall is pumpkins. They are so cool. Why I think pumpkins are cool is they come in all different colors and shapes and sizes. The end. Well done, Bethany. That was amazing. So we're all clapping for you. If we were together, we'd all be clapping and hooting and hollering over every poem. And I'd love to hear, I'd love to be together. But since we're not, we make sure you post where we can all see and comment on each other's poems and encourage one another. Okay, but next Tuesday for Teaching Tuesday, you've got the poem, your hiking habit, and your sit spot. Take pictures of you at it, and let's just enjoy one another. And we'll be doing Teaching Tuesdays, but it's going to be more of a teaching the fabulous five of what's out there to eat now. And we will cook with one of them together. So it won't be as long of a class. I'll be getting ready for my webinar, but I still want to do it every Tuesday. And I'm looking forward to connecting between now and then as well. Thank you for joining me. Wild blessings abound.